The title of this talk says Next Generation Leaders, right? Right? That's actually a lie. Because when we were preparing to come to this talk, they were like, hey, both of you just come here and talk about what has got you here to this spot. And for the last couple of days, I've been so amazed by the conversations we've had, talking to a lot of people in this room, in the other rooms, and often conversations at dinners, at coffees. And we decided to do something else, and we think this will be fun. We're going to talk to you about the secrets of Silicon Valley. Basically, we have been so fortunate to have been in the room with some of the most interesting leaders and companies in Silicon Valley, from Mark Zuckerberg to Jack Dorsey to Elon Musk and many others.
But we didn't start out that way.
We didn't. We started off in like a small town in India with really nothing. And we want to talk about a few lessons that we talk about. And these are usually the things that we talk about after you've had dinner with us for 3 hours, and let me tell you the secret. We'd already start now. Okay, do you folks want to hear this? All right. Okay. The first one is, I'm going to talk about it, is a big vision meets first principles. So I've been very fortunate to work with two very interesting CEOs. One is Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook. The other is Elon Musk. And I think they both do something which is remarkable, which is they marry a very big vision for what they think the world is going to be. So folks among you, you represent governments from over 190 countries. You represent various organizations. And I think about how you can think about a concrete vision. But here's the secret. With both Zuck and Elon, they bring it back to the simplest possible first principles. Let me explain. So Elon Musk, his vision is humanity is precious. We can all agree. We don't want to live on one planet where it gets hit by a big rock and we all die. That would be bad. So he's like, humanity needs a backup plan. We need to go on other planets. How do we do that? Well, we need rockets that can take us there. How do you do that? We need to have rockets that can be cheaper and efficient and sustainable. And you work back and back and back and back, and you get SpaceX, right? Similarly, for energy sustainability, you get Tesla. And one of the things that struck me about Elon is in every single meeting I've been in, he always asks the most simplest, basic questions. Anything that any of us who are on the outside would immediately understand, oh, I can understand it. For example, last couple of months, I was Elon at Twitter. He asked, like, hey, why can't this be faster? Why can't we have longer videos? It's the simplest of questions. And I think this is important because how many of us here have, in professional careers, been in a room where we had imposter syndrome? Because we look around the room and everyone else seems more accomplished, better dressed, a better LinkedIn profile than us. And I think the answer is, I've seen these people, some of the most successful in the world, and they ask the simplest possible questions. And I've seen this again and again with both Elon and Zuck. So the first lesson is big vision with first principles.
And as ambitious and as big vision as the idea and the company later looks like, when they started out, a lot of these companies didn't look that way. They all looked like they were maybe not going to make it. I went through the startup incubation program called Y Combinator. It's Silicon Valley's most prestigious startup program. And when I looked at my batch of companies, they all, at that point, when they were starting out, didn't look like successes. They didn't look like they were going to make it. In fact, a lot of them looked like they were going to run out of runway, brink of bankruptcy. And a lot of these founders just kept at it. And so it's not really obvious when they started out that these companies were really going to be that big or that massive or world-changing even.
Yeah, so I think Aarthi herself is a story because she's had multiple companies is persevering, especially in the face of adversity, because some of the challenges I think some of the folks here in this room and this conference are working on are hard. They require a lot of coordination. And nothing in Silicon Valley has ever been done without persevering over long periods of time. So that's number two. Third, I have a question. How many of you have any sort of public online presence, a Twitter profile, Instagram, YouTube, a show of hands? Okay. So those of you who raise your hands, good job. For everyone else, you're missing out. And here's why. The only reason Aarthi and I are here, right, and not in a small town in India, that we have anything that we have, is because that we put ourselves out there on the internet. The internet is a superpower. You, each one of you, and regardless of what role, what age, what job you are in, putting yourself online is superpower. It's a bat signal, right? How many of you in comics, you get a bat signal and Batman knows that he has to show up? But on the internet, when you put out content, that could mean writing a tweet. It could mean posting something on Instagram. It could mean posting a video on YouTube. It means that the smartest people in the world will come find you, right? And it goes a bunch of ways. So for example, we do a podcast and a show. Hopefully everyone here Googles us after this and subscribes. But we don't do it for money. We do it because smart people find us, and then 5 years later, maybe if they have a company, they want to come talk to us and talk to me to raise money. So that we learn from that. But sometimes it's just fun because for Aarthi, how many times have some young woman
We've
reached
had
out to
so
you?
many people just reach out. And if you had asked us about 20 years ago, at least my personal view was you put your head down, you do the right amount of work, you work really, really hard, and good things will happen. That is not true. You have to be public. You have to put yourself out there. You have to talk about your ideas, your vision, what you see the future is going to look like, what problems you're going to solve. And for us, when we started doing this show, we started doing this just to be able to pay it forward, to tell the next generation of leaders what this is going to look like. And it's been amazing to see the response. I've had people reach out from all parts of the world, just reaching out saying, well, you are how we want to be, or you are how we aspire to be 10 years or 15 years from now. And that's incredibly heartwarming for us.
Yeah. So for all of you, first of all, who put up their hands, great job. Keep posting, and it can be anything, right? Because you're making an impact. You don't know it. Trust me, just keep at it every single day. Just write anything, post anything. It will compound. But those of you who didn't put your hand up, trust me, right? I've heard all the arguments. I'm too busy. I can't post about my lunch. My job, I have restrictions. I've spoken to everybody in all kinds of situations. There is a way for you to post something online, and you'll be able to pay it forward, and it'll pay back to you in droves. So if you do remember nothing else from this talk, go online, create an account, and anything that makes sense, it'll work out for you. That's number 3. Next up is experimentation, which Aarthi is the master at.
Again, I talked about how you had these big vision, ambitious founders who didn't start out looking that way. The problems that they solved, often the companies looked like they were struggling, they were running out of runway, and they just persisted and they just gritted it out. And you see a lot of these folks do that. The one trait that I've seen from really good founders, entrepreneurs, startup leaders, they try multiple things. They're always experimenting. They're always testing out different things. In our world, we call this A/B testing, where there is scenario A, scenario B. You try out different scenarios, and you see what works, what wins, what grows, and you invest in that. You invest in that vision or that product or that problem space. And these founders constantly try out new things. And it's something that not everybody thinks is obvious, but these world-changing business ideas only come from years and years of just running these different experiments.
Yeah, and the secret to this is something a lot of folks in Silicon Valley will call the OODA loop, the OODA. How many of you folks have heard of the term OODA loop? Great, no one. Actually, one of you. Okay, sir, keep quiet, please. I mean, you are too educated. You have too well researched. I don't know who you are, but we should be friends later. Okay, so OODA stands for OODA. It was invented by this fighter pilot called Robert Boyd, fascinating character. He was one of the best fighter pilots the United States had. And he invented this theory, which was really meant to help fighter pilots win fighter jet battles, right? What Tom Cruise does in Top Gun, but in real life. And he developed this framework called OODA, which stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, and Act. OODA, OODA. And what it means is if you are in a situation and there is a fighter pilot from the other side, you're Tom Cruise, somebody's coming at you, first you observe, you're like, what is happening? You detected, a villain. Second, you orient, you're like, where is that person? How fast are they flying? How fast are we flying? What is the terrain? Third, you decide what you do. Do you run away? Do you fire a missile? Do you fly something different? And then you actually do it. You press the button, you pull the lever, whatever it is, right? Now, it turns out the secret, and this is secret, is this sounds like any acronym, right? How many of us have in professional, like we've heard zillions of these acronyms. That is not the reality here. The secret to winning a battle against another fighter pilot or against another competitor, another tech company, is your loop needs to be faster than the other person's loop. That is, before the enemy pilot or your competitor CEO, before they can observe, orient, disconnect, if you finish a whole cycle and you do something, right, you get a small advantage. And you do it again, you get another advantage. And it starts compounding, and before you know it, you are so far ahead of the competition. Let me give you an example. In 2013, and this is not a story I've told publicly before, so I'm going to just say it out here. Right? In 2013, Facebook did not have any videos on the platform at all. Right? It was only for photos and tagging. By the way, how many of you remember Facebook when you could only tag people and just tag friends on Facebook? How many of you? All the old people here. right? Oh my gosh, this room has so many young
We are
people.
old. We
Yeah,
are
we are
old.
old. Okay,
Yeah.
only the old people here. Sorry. Okay, all of us so old. Oh gosh, this makes me depressed. But okay, back in the day, you could only post photos on Facebook. Nobody thought about video. And then one day, it turns out there was all these competitive apps which were taking off where people are posting videos. Now, internally, there were two camps. There was a camp which said, we should do video, Mark Zuckerberg. And there's another camp which said, no, no, no. Video means bandwidth, and our sell partners will hate us. Two is we have something working on photos and tagging. We don't want to blow it up. We don't know whether it'll change the dynamics of Facebook, and we
Right.
can't risk all that ad revenue, right? Now, Zuckerberg actually showed off, I was very fortunate to be in the room for this, showed off two things. One, he thought from first principles, right? He said, okay, I was wrong. The world is going to have more bandwidth. The world, people want to post more videos. So as a company, we need to figure out a way to make this. Okay, that was number one. But he also said, which I really like, he was like, I have no idea what the right way to do video is, so we're going to start experimenting. At the time, nobody thought of Facebook as a video app. There was nothing on video, right? But they started trying out small things, right? You could post a video on Facebook. It would actually work. For a long time, it wouldn't even work. Then they started doing autoplay video. When you post a video, it plays automatically. Any of you using TikTok or Instagram Reels, it's been like that for 5 years. It was not the case back then. Now, there was one big moment which happened. Anybody remember the ice bucket challenge from 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay, all the old people here. Okay, well, it was an Indian meme. Basically, you dump a bucket of ice for a good cause on yourself. But the magic of that was it was the very first time you post a video and you had to tag friends. And because Facebook had kept iterating, that OODA loop was so short, when an opportunity came, they were ready. And I was there in the meeting with Zuckerberg and Sheryl, and our graphs went vertical, and it hasn't looked back ever since, right? So the lesson here is speed of iteration and decision making is so much more important than planning or strategy. And I think this is very important. Like across the 10 years, I've been at, and I'm only saying this not to show off that I have a resume, but I've seen across multiple companies. Every time the bias was towards let's do this quickly,
Yeah.
let's learn, let's plan for failure, let's try it again. Almost every single time, that has ended up in a better outcome than a months-long planning process with a bunch of slide decks, which ended up usually nothing.
And this might not work in all kind of areas and categories. You know, there are places, there are projects which require dedicated thinking, planning. In technology, especially in the companies that we've worked at, what we've noticed is like a really big advantage is the ability to just go quickly, like really, really fast. And we're talking like Facebook would ship multiple check-ins or pieces of code every single day. And this is a very big shift even for us from like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, where it would take like multi-months to be able to like write code and check it in and see the public, the people, the users use it. And so you've now started seeing this loop get shorter and shorter,
Yeah.
where people are able to get access to features and functionality and fixes much, much faster.
Yeah. Okay, final thing, the last 2 minutes, and this may be the most important one, so the best for last, everyone. We all familiar with finite games. A game of basketball, a game of football ends in 45 minutes, 90 minutes, and it ends. But what life and business is often an infinite game, right? Our companies don't end when we leave. Our countries don't end when we die. They go on forever. And I think a lot of life and professional careers are an infinite game. You keep playing it, you keep accumulating score, and it keeps compounding. And Silicon Valley really understands this with the power of networks, right? And the thing which really surprised me in Silicon Valley, and I don't mean Silicon Valley is perfect, but this way, is in a lot of other parts of the US, for example, in Hollywood, there will be gatekeepers for networks. If you had to meet like a big shot CEO or a big shot movie actor, there'd be like 5 people who you had to go through before you get one meeting. Silicon Valley is not like that. Even if you are like a random kid or an intern, it is very easy to get a meeting with anybody. Because the idea is this kid who's 21 years old today, 5 years from now could be young and higher, 10 years from now, a young leader, 20 years from now, maybe a world leader, right? And these things keep compounding. So the nature of the valley, which is why you see the PayPal mafia, a small set of people, Elon Musk, David Sachs, a few others, right, keep going, because they keep their networks together. So my advice or thought to all of you is, you're sitting here with some of the most interesting people around the world. Like, I've literally never been at an event which has so many people from around the world in one place. And you have an amazing opportunity because you are here in the physical space and they will talk to you. So go say hi, go meet everyone, drop a note, grab coffee, grab a meal, but then keep in touch. Every 2 months, 6 months, asking, say, hey, how are you doing? How's your job? What do you want to do next? these things in a year, 2 years, 3 years, they will compound. That's the reason, by the way, why Aarthi and I have gone from no-name town in India to now having the privilege talking to you. So I want to end on this note, right? We are not here just sort of an altruistic motive. We are here for a very selfish purpose, which is we are playing the infinite game. Our idea is like those of you, right, by getting to know you, someday there is something we can do together. Maybe we can help you, maybe we can work together, maybe you have somebody else that we can help, we don't know. So what I'd ask is once you've said hi to everybody else and dropped a note, send us a note. I promise you, find us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, doesn't really matter. Send us a DM, email. We'll respond to every one of you because we want to get to know each one of you. So hopefully this was useful. We had a blast, but thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.